great show. Amazing. Adolescence, I think, is a five-star limited series TV show. I mean, it's a top film. You could have just finished the whole entire 4-hour film on it. But a four-part series is cool. Not a problem with that at all. So Andrew Tate's name was brought up in a British Netflix TV show, a coming of age 4-episode limited series known as Adolescence. Now, with the recent and ongoing controversy surrounding Andrew Tate, my tinfoil hat conspiracy innuendos start turning. In particular, due to the recent attacks many UK schools have launched against Andrew Tate. Now, before I read and review this whole entire movie, I'm going to give it combat sports relevance. I want to ask the question, why is Andrew Tate being attacked at this massive scale? Now, is he really that dangerous for the youth, or just another Instagram hustler culture influencer mixed with being a modern dating coach? Now, within the rise of feminism and many disgruntled women of different scenarios, does he have a point? And perhaps use these points as a hyper exaggerated marketing scheme to launch his business. Now, to be honest, I've never seen a man who has the pull of right wing conspiracy theorists, urban black population, and right now a growing Muslim fan base due to his conversion to Islam. Now, the recent zero judgment on my part, if there's any out there that can teach anybody about content creation, it's Andrew Tate. Okay, because he seems to be the man who can teach you a thing or two about going viral. That's the most that we can really say about him. Now, before I get into all of that, and speaking of Netflix, I want you guys to check out my recent video, UFC signing with Netflix. Both the live stream version and the video version that you see up on the screen right now, available on this channel. You don't want to miss this epic content. Okay, and it is so epic. I'm telling you, I'm going to take you for a ride from the West Coast all the way to the UK while reviewing the Adolescence film and why Andrew Tate was mentioned in this film. So I urge you guys to check that out. Now let's get to the content at hand right now. Well, it's fairly obvious the reason why Andrew Tate was mentioned in this movie is because of his effects in schools all throughout, not just the UK, not just in the United States, but also Australia, where I'm going to read this article to you regarding this particular matter. Okay, so after 5 years of graduating university, she was settling into a full stream contract as her dream job of Queensland's Sunshine Coast teaching at a high school. Okay, so this is about a teacher talking about what she had noticed about boys in her classroom mentioning Andrew Tate. It was so much more prevalent when she started teaching media studies to 15 and 16-year-olds. She said, and I quote, one of them was speaking about how much they love Andrew Tate. And I was just said, look, I don't want to hear that name in the classroom. And I could see some of the girls rolling their eyes, sighing as she was mentioning what was going on here. So as you guys know, British American former kickboxer, which is why this has a combat sports relevant to this story, accumulated millions of followers on social media for preaching a message of ultra masculinity, and in the past has described himself as somewhat of a sexist and a misogynist. Now, to be honest with you, that's what the article said. I don't know if he's actually said or mentioned that, and if he did, was he saying in a joking manner or was he really serious? Now, that remains to be seen if there's any truth to that. Mr. Tate's money-making subscription channels have been pulled from YouTube and other platforms. I'm assuming this is a very older article and whatnot. So most of what is happening in my experiences was of sexual nature, she said. So this gets really interesting right here. Students would be making moaning noises in the classroom, asking me inappropriate questions, asking personal questions about my age or my appearance. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with Andrew Tate to any degree, but Grace, who this particular article, this Australian article is about, says that she was told to use teaching techniques to handle the problem, but the behavior didn't stop. And at the end of her first term under contract, she quit. Now, she said, and I quote, "It was very disappointing that I don't really feel safe in my classroom anymore, even though I want to be there to stand up for these young girls, and my mental health was suffering." So basically, this is the teacher and the particular subject matter at hand that we are talking about. So obviously, this right here is very much relevant to the subject that we are talking about with the movie Adolescence. And I thought that this was really interesting because obviously I'm picking this article up from an Australian news outlet, but I'm sure that this is nothing different in the UK schools or maybe even American schools, although I don't really hear much about it on the American side, more so on the British side of local educators in that particular region. Which brings us to Adolescence. And I got to tell you, I am absolutely in love with British, French, and European films, and in particular, British, French, and European films that have something to do with the urban culture. Now, one comes to mind, Ashley Walters. Most of you know him as the top boy character, also in Bulletproof. So he basically plays all the UK gangster roles. And in this particular series, he plays a police officer, in particular, the lead detective to this case. And Stephen Graham, who's also been in many British films all throughout the years. This is England. He was also in Gangs of New York, a whole list of different movies. He was also in Snatch. You name a British movie, he was probably in it. Owen Cooper, Aaron Dorothy is also a big factor in this particular series. But I got to tell you, the one thing that I really took out of this series is the lessons in adolescence. Obviously, very relevant to the current modern times that we are living in right now, the age of the internet, which, by the way, is mentioned plenty of times in this movie, right? The internet, the presence of the internet, your presence in the internet, and your value to the world in terms of your social media following, your popularity, and things of that nature. Now, obviously, I don't want to spoil anything for people out there. And quite frankly, as I'm recording this right now, I've literally just left off in the third episode. Obviously, this has four episodes as this limited series goes. And well, I didn't quite finish it with a purpose and reason because obviously, many people who are going to be watching this content have either watched it already or haven't watched it and don't want to be spoiled. So I want to give the best synopsis that I can without spoiling anything for anybody while also trying to understand the life lessons and also the relevance of Andrew Tate regarding this particular TV series or this limited series that is now available on Netflix. So the one thing that stood out to me the most, right? Obviously, it is a coming of age film, and that's very important to understand. Now, why is that important? Because I got to tell you, it seems to be a very popular theme with a lot of people. They love coming of age films, maybe because the youth can outnumber the older folks or the boomers or the older generations. And maybe perhaps that's the reason why you have series like Cobra Kai, or back in the days, you had Saved by the Bell, you had Family Matters, Boy Meets World. All of these things are classified as what they call in the English language literature a coming of age film or a coming of age story that deals with youth dealing with their problems as they age in their teenage years all the way till their adulthood. Now, a little synopsis on this movie. Obviously, there is an unaliving that had happened in this movie, and in particular, it was a female student. Okay, and that's the most that I can really say without giving up too much information and not giving any spoilers on this particular matter. What I will say is that there's a lot of gems that you can take out of this particular film, a whole lot of gems. And let me tell you why. Because number one, there are elements of things that are relevant to this modern day and age. As I've mentioned earlier, the value of being a man, the aspects of the universal insecurity that most teenagers face and most adolescents face all throughout their years. And again, this goes back to Andrew Tate, right? Obviously, why is this guy so popular? He must be doing something that is sort of attracting the youth to his direction. Now, what exactly is that? Well, he'll tell you himself exactly what that
men who come to you for advice, who feel lost, who don't really know where they fit into society?
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit. But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult, how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible, and I need to work hard to achieve those things.
Now, when you hear rhetoric like that, you think to yourself, okay, simple and innocent enough, right? Of course, there are other elements that you have to look at, the human trafficking, all these other haram business that he may have engaged in his past. But again, by the end of the day, nobody really knows. For all we know right now, he remains innocent under the court of law. Many controversies behind the fact that he's visited prominent social media influencers in the United States, as well as the endorsement of Donald Trump himself. But in any regard, keep an open mind, but also keep an open heart. And this is all that I have for you guys. Stay tuned, stay safe, and like and subscribe. I will see you in the next content, inshallah. MMA needs if you want to find predictions, news, and everything that deals with MMA. Shout outs to Kyrie Abu El-Kheer MMA, Sacramento, California represent.
That's right, Kyrie. I appreciate you, my nigga. You came in here, you was talking that shit. That's right, bro. Much love, Flo. I appreciate you for always stepping in, bro. Be safe out there. Man, my nigga Kyrie, my man Kyrie came through. He started talking that shit. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That nigga will whoop your fucking ass. You would think that nigga's all squared up and all that type of shit. Nigga come through and beat your fucking ass. Like, man, fuck you up. You will never see it coming. So for those of y'all